What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with a vintage Kenner Star Wars market update. Lots of good information in this video. We got loose graded figures as well as mint on cards, graded and ungraded. And I hope you'll stick around to watch and take a look at some of the final closed sales prices. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please consider subscribing. And as always, thank you to my Patreon supporters. If you are interested in becoming a Patreon supporter for the channel, it's patreon.com/actionfiguregrader. Let's go ahead and dig right into some pretty nice items here. We're going to start off with another Princess Leia that sold at auction. This was a no COO version. So these would appear like on Palatoy cards or tri-logos, things like that. It was graded UKG 85%. The final price did not disappoint, $430 US or 362 Great British pounds. And that's down a little bit versus the AFA 85 example that we saw sell in an auction for over $500. And maybe it's because folks are willing to pay a little bit more for an AFA 85 versus a UKG 85. I don't know the answer to that, but it does seem like AFA does command the highest price premiums for items of the same grade, apples to apples. But just a gorgeous example, and you very rarely see a no COO graded by AFA. It seems like most of them are graded by UKG. But that's another data point there for those of you looking for a Princess Leia. Here was an AFA 80 plus 12 back B Sand People, and this had the clear view grading label up top, which I don't like as much, but you know, to each their own. Beautiful clear blister. It was punched, but it had no price sticker. That sold for $12.26. So 12 backs continue to command very big prices. Here's the back of it. It had some kind of Sears price sticker on the back there, as you can see, or just a Sears label of some sort, but the front of the card presents really nicely. Next up was a PBP Darth Vader. I was curious to see if this one would sell or not, and it did. It was a UKG 90%, and this was the harder to find leather cape. It's labeled as a leather cape, as you can see right there. There are several different cape variations for the Spanish-made PBP Darth Vader. There's a leather cape, there's a smooth cape, and then there's a combination where one side is smooth and one side is leathered. It's not a true leather cape. It's labeled as leather cape by UKG, but it's just a textured type of material that feels and looks like leather, but it's not actually leather, and to my knowledge. And that one sold for 275 pounds or 327 US dollars plus shipping. Now, conversely, here was another one. This one was, it appears to be a smooth cape, and it's labeled as a no COO Scar PBP. So it's the same figure, slightly lower grade, but that one sold for 225 US dollars. That was in the US. So to go from an 85 to a 90, you're talking a difference in price of about $100. So pretty big price difference. This also had the older case style versus the newer case style, laser cut case style on the UKG 90%. Next up was a very rare item. This was a shrink-wrapped Star Wars laser pistol, so the DL-44 Han Solo blaster. Very cool item, and it presents really nicely. It's got that Kenner with the long play logo there, and this one was shrink-wrapped. I believe there are examples that are not shrink-wrapped, and the label says as such. It says shrink-wrapped, so it was graded AFA 80, and it was a beautiful item. Here's the back of the box there, so you can take a look at that. And it was listed for $1,300 US dollars. Best offer was accepted plus $30 shipping. So really nice example. And again, they came both shrink wrapped as well as not shrink wrapped. Next up, we had an AFA 80 R5D4 loose graded. That one was listed for $170. Best offer accepted, probably around $150. I didn't look it up as to what the final sales price was, but this had the newer laser cut case style, beautiful R5D4, and here's the label on that. This was the 1978 Hong Kong version. So there's a 1977 date stamp version as well, but that one sold for $170. Best offer accepted. Here was an AFA 85 brand new case style Death Star droid loose graded. That one was listed for $275. Best offer accepted. So usually these sell for between $200 and $250, so that's probably about the right sales price for an AFA 85 Death Star droid. That was a gorgeous example, though, much cleaner than the one I have in my collection. Although the left shoulder did have some paint wear, but the eyes were much cleaner than the example I have that's graded AFA 85. Here was a Lily Letty Yoda, and this one was graded UKG 80%. This one had the older case style. This was at auction, and it sold for 460 pounds or 547 US dollars. This one would be the Returno version, and you can see the label there. They do, UKG does now label Returno versions, which is the earlier and harder to find, more expensive Yoda variant that came on earlier Lily Letty cardbacks, but this was the Regresso version, which I have in my collection in a UKG 85%, but 460 was about right for that Lily Letty Yoda. This I thought was a really good deal. This was the 41 back A AT-AT driver, graded AFA 80. It was unpunched with no price sticker, clear blister, just a gorgeous example of the AT-AT driver. The subgrades were 80, 85, 85, and it was at auction, and it sold for $910 on 36 bids. I thought that was a great deal, whoever picked that up. Typically, this item would sell for over $1,000, and I've seen it sell for over $1,000 in the similar grades, even on Facebook. So I think that was a great pickup, and a little bit lower price than I was expecting. I was expecting between $1,000 and $1,100, so $910 was a very good price. The same seller also had this one. This one was a Palatoy 45 back TIE Fighter pallet. It was the older grade, and it was 90%. So your radar should go up when you see something this high of a grade and a Palatoy 45 back. This is on the Toy Tony list, and what happened was a guy named Toy Tony bought overstock cardbacks, overstock blisters, and then he filled it in and assembled his own mint on cards after the fact in like the 2013 time frame, and some of those did pass early grading with AFA and UKG, and so this one is definitely a Toy Tony for a 90%, and the price reflected that. It was sold for $165.50 plus shipping, and again, this is an overstock Toy Tony kind of replica, so to speak, using legitimate parts but assembled after the fact by a collector who bought a bunch of overstocked as the Palatoy factory was closing. This is a very rare item. You don't see this one pop up graded very often. This was a UKG 90% Lily Letty Salacious Crumb. And so this was made in the Mexico factory for the Jabba the Hutt playset. And so you don't often see these Salacious Crumb Lily Lettys graded. And the price was pretty good. It sold for 251 pounds or 298 US dollars. These just don't come up regularly enough for me to tell you whether that's a fair price or not, but I can tell you that this is the first time I've seen a graded example of the Lily Letty Salacious Crumb ever. I've never seen one graded individually like that before, so pretty cool item to see. This price really surprised me, and this one was an ESB-H R2-D2 baggie, graded UKG 90%, so very, very high grade. It sold for 700 pounds or 832 US dollars. So my guess is that this combination of baggie with the figure plus being in a high grade like this, it must not come up very regularly, because that is like mint on card R2-D2 prices. So very cool to see. And that same seller also had the same baggie style ESB-H for the first 12 R2-D2, graded UKG 85%. This price was a little bit more down to earth, and I thought a pretty great price. 128 pounds or 152 US dollars plus shipping. Really nice presentation by UKG with that baggie. I really like how they present that. It kind of gives it a little bit more oomph to how that's presented. But that's a great price to me. I would have paid that all day long, and a very nice item. This item, I was curious to see how long it would sit on the market, and it didn't sit that long. Maybe about a week or so. This was the 32 back B Luke Skywalker with the looking photo, and it was graded AFA 80%, 80, 85, 75 were the subgrades. The blaster did come loose, and there was discoloration to the torso, to the Luke Bespin action figure, as you can see inside the blister there. So that's a common problem with a lot of these Luke Bespins. And it was listed for $12.50 plus $30 shipping, and it finally did sell, and it had a number of watchers on it. So it was punched with a Target price sticker in the upper right hand corner, but really, really nice example of a Luke Skywalker Bespin fatigues on the 32 back B. This seller had a number of 47 back free forearm offers. This was a clear blister Sand People unpunched with a Toys R Us price sticker that sold for $380. And then he also had a yellowed blister R5D4 that was punched with a Kmart price sticker. That one sold for $417. So that was a really nice example. My gut says if this one had a clear blister, it would have sold for over $600 US. And I would have been very tempted to bid on this one if it had a clear blister, but I kind of stayed away from it just because I'm so short on space for my collection that when I do add something, it's got to be something that I think is something that I really want long term. And I don't want to get a yellow blister ESB R5. I would probably just wait, pay a little bit more for a clear blister. But I think that's a pretty fair price, really, for an ESB R5 D4. They just don't come up that regularly at auction, especially. And that one was a really clean card, just some edge wear to it, as you can see at the lower right-hand corner as well as on the right-hand side. But a really nice example, a little bit of creasing above the hang tab there. Next up, we had another 47 back ESB Cloud Car palette. This one was graded AFA 80. It was punched with a price sticker in the upper left-hand corner. Clear blister, though, really nice example. That one sold for $760. Now, for comparison's sake, I have an unpunched example, same card back, and it was graded AFA 80 or 80 plus. I'm not sure which, but I paid about $475 if memory serves. It might have been even less than that. So this one has definitely gone up in price, and a really nice example. Next up, this was an interesting one that YouTube subscriber Brian C. purchased. This one is the 48 back transition, free Neonum offer, clear blister, but it was some kind of weird misprint or miscut by the factory. And you can see here that it's got a nice clear blister. It looks to be 100% legit, but the card back was miscut. And let's see if we can find some photos here. You can see how miscut it is with upside down language on the card back. So, from the other card back that was miscut, this is a better example here. You can see where it was just miscut at the bottom, and at the top it was also miscut. It was unpunched. A very cool item. This is what concerned me, though, is like it's almost like a double card back. So I don't know what's going on with this item. Brian C is going to fill me in when he gets it in from shipping, but it looks legit to me. It's just a weird factory error, and it sold for big money, 669 Australian or 452 US dollars. But kind of an interesting, quirky, miscut factory error where the card back just wasn't cut correctly, and then the blister was applied, a little bit of wave to that blister there on the left-hand side. So it had a number of red flags to me, but it looks legitimate to me. But just an interesting item that I think was a nice addition to Brian C's collection. Here was a UKG 85% AST5 mini rig. Really cool item there. And great box art on these mini rigs. That one sold for $405 US plus shipping. This was over in the US. You can see that right there. It's really got great box art to it. So interesting data point for a mini rig that's been graded by UKG. This was a beautiful molded face Luke Skywalker. And this is the molded face Taiwan green lightsaber with a snap cape. Got the brand new casing style from UKG. 85%. That sold for 277 pounds or 329 US dollars. That was a great deal. Assuming all the pieces that were included with this figure are factory correct, you can't do better than that. That's a great deal, and be curious to see what other folks who are Luke Jedi experts have to say about this one. But what a gorgeous example of the molded face Luke. The molded face Luke for non-foreign variants like the Lily Letty, that's a pretty good price. You typically would see this one sell that price ungraded. So I think whoever picked that up got a pretty good deal on that one, assuming all those accessories are factory correct. Next up, we had an AFA 85 Luke Stormtrooper disguise, last 17. That sold for 670 pounds or almost 800 US dollars. This is the older case style, but a very, very high grade. And it seems like the last 17 Luke Skywalkers just continued to command massive prices, and that one did not disappoint. We also had yet another Sise Fromm sell. There's been like 3 or 4 that have sold here recently. It's really interesting to see how expensive these have gotten. This was a clear blister. It was AFA 70. That sold for 1,325 US dollars. So this one just continues to command big premiums on the secondary market. Sise Fromm and Tig Fromm, if they've got a clear blister, which they usually do since they were manufactured in the Lily Letty Mexican factory, just command massive premiums. And then finally, I wanted to show this one. This was an interesting one. This was a VGA graded 1990 VHS Ewoks Volume 1 VHS tape. Special 179 price sticker on the front, graded 80 plus by VGA. So this is a VHS division. So VGA, as we've talked about on the channel, is a division of AFA, and they just started grading factory sealed VHS tapes. And that one sold for $137.50. I thought that was a pretty great price for a cool Ewoks cartoon VHS tape. But I just wanted to show that since that was at auction, and one of the more interesting items I hadn't seen sell at auction before. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at some of these interesting items that all sold here recently on eBay. And again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.